Welcome back, everyone, for another episode of Tabletop. Today, we are going to heal all your aches and pains by talking about healing.
Hashtag not really.
We'll talk about your aches and pains, but today I have myself here, the host Nick, but we also have three of the best doctors I have ever met. Can you please introduce yourselves?
We usually have an order to this, but I am Shade MD.
Okay, Shade MD.
I am also Shade MD.
Nice.
There you go.
Okay, that's not
Shade
confusing
2.
at all. Dr. Franco.
Dr. Franco.
Yep.
Amazing. All right. And today we're talking about healing systems and TTRPGs. So this is a very broad topic, but I kind of want to talk a little bit about how you can make healing feel good in games, because there's a lot of people who are like, hey, I don't really want to take on a healing or a support class because I'm never really doing anything. I'm just sort of helping other people do their stuff, which can be a lot of fun. But also, I've played in systems we've even talked about on this podcast a while ago about how healing in 5e can sometimes, not the new rules, but the older rules around like it feeling a little bit passive and not feeling as gratifying as being, like a mage or something who's like casting fireball. So what do you guys all think about healing systems? What are the problems that people usually run into, and how do you think people should approach it?
I have a question.
Oh yeah.
So you
Hit
said,
me.
what is different? Is it different in the 2024 Dungeons and Dragons rules update?
It's slightly different, like the way you take potions and stuff. There's a couple of
bonus action and
stuff. That kind of stuff where they've made it slightly easier to self-heal, I would say, and I think that's probably in response to some of the
And like Baldur's Gate 3 did bonus action motions.
So
Critical Role's done it forever, I think.
sure. But what about hold on a second. The short rests and stuff like that. Has anything changed with that?
I mean, they're still there.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think that
so
there's
nothing's
still
changed.
no.
So the only difference is bonus action healing potion.
Exactly. They've made it
okay.
like a couple of self-heals easier to do. And I think that they've also removed a couple of like what used to be racial traits that had kind of self-healing abilities, and they've made it more accessible to anyone grabbing stuff.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't recall.
I think
offhand,
the best D&D ever had with healing was 4th edition. They're like, oh, you can take this many second wins.
Yeah.
And it's like you could do one per encounter, but like so many a day. And it's like, I can keep myself alive. It's fine.
Well, the fighter gets second wind, which is like you can heal yourself like as a action or bonus action. Action, yeah. You can just heal yourself or whatever. But yeah, I think part of what healing, I think the weird part about healing, it really comes up against HP.
Yeah.
And I think that can be very confusing and complicated, right? Because like a fighter getting a second wind and getting like a D8 back or whatever it is of health is kind of like, okay, so what is HP then? It's like a a nebulous mix of stamina and physical
well-being.
meat. Yeah. So yeah, it can be very. I think that's why healing can feel very weird in most games, is because of this like undefined concept of HP.
Yeah. I also think that if you roll numbers into how effective things are as like a marker of that, it always feels worse to heal someone for 2d6 plus 2, or if at the same level you could cast Fireball and roll 66 damage, right? So they're like different values, but since in a lot of these systems, bigger number is better, you're always like, I'm never going to be able to be as effective as a damage dealing class in a pure numbers fashion. Like you as a healer.
To be
just
fair,
can't
the
keep
party's
up.
never going to have as much HP as a monster either. So it's really like the balance is automatically screwed against playing healers for the big moments.
Right. Because you're saying like dragons have like 500 HP or something,
Right.
and
you're going to have like maybe max 200 if you play a
level 20.
high constitution fighter barbarian.
You can get up to like 3 bordering on 4.
Don't correct me.
But
I'll fight you right now.
but 200's a good like average.
Yeah. And so like you have. So I guess I see what your point is that like a player HP is more valuable than a monster HP.
Yeah.
However, if you say like you have a party of 5, then you have 1,000 HP across all.
And
of
really
them.
good ratings. For a few years in the 90s.
What a pull! What a pull! But what do you guys think about it? Like, is Rio right that just the sheer number difference makes it more?
I've never seen it, so I don't really have an opinion.
So I mean,
I have to take the ratings at their word.
to that point, it feels way worse when an enemy is healing. In general, like I think that there are two bad feels. To your point, Nick, and to your point, Rio, of it feels like I wasted my turn healing someone or bringing them back up or something like that. It's not really a waste, and it's a very important role, but I get where that's kind of coming from because it feels more passive. But it also feels bad to watch as the enemy regains health, unless that is specifically like if it's a troll or a vampire, and those are like built-in mechanics, but like watching an enemy drink a health potion is like, oh, fuck off. You know?
Well, yeah, I get this a lot, and I know Franco hates when I talk about video games, but in like video games, when you get like the cleric goblin somewhere in the mix, and you're trying to like fight 2 or 3 on you, and there's a cleric in the back, and he's like just healing everybody. He's like, I can't get to you.
Yeah.
I need you to stop. I don't have the ability to keep healing as much as you are, guys.
I would feel way better about that in a TTRPG. That's way more interesting than again like a
bad guy healing potion.
Again, in this new campaign setting, we're doing Wilder Feast. You don't have HP. You have stamina, and you run out of stamina, you get wounded. It's like, okay, well, now you're wounded. You know what a wound is. It could be anything. Yeah. It's like, oh, and you get 3 wounds? Okay, now you've taken too much damage.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, what are we talking about? So does it feel okay when a player character pulls out a healing potion and heals himself?
Well, I guess that's, that's especially now that it's been moved to a bonus action, it feels like it's fine, I guess. Like I don't really have a lot of strong feelings around this in general, but I can see where that's coming from.
And sticking into like the 5th edition set, it never feels like healing is worth it.
No.
Because you're just going to take damage in the next round.
Yeah. And also the potion almost certainly isn't going to be enough to overcome what that damage would have been.
So they say it's only good to heal after someone's already gone down.
Correct.
There's no point trying to stop it.
It's a weird like incentive to let somebody go down before healing them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Just make it that, because you're not, they're going to lose that action either way.
Yeah.
And at least if they go down and then you heal them, you're bringing them back up to do something instead of, I'm just going to use this action and hope that this isn't the round they go down on.
Right.
Yeah, it is in a weird way mechanically the only, and I'm using air quotes, but like the right way to do it is what you're talking about, because if you heal someone when they're up, you are net negative in action. But if you heal someone when they are down, then they get to act on their turn when they would not have been. And so you're net neutral in actions. Yep. So like that is basically like that is the number, what the numbers say.
That's that 3D polymetric.
Yeah. There's that math.
Yeah. I mean, and it's weird. Like it's fun because we're talking about this from such a mechanical standpoint.
Yeah.
And that is something that I think we as a group, while we really do love mechanics, we're also talking about the ludonarrative stuff where, well, how does that really work in the system?
Yeah.
But healing does not, and I think this is probably the biggest issue, does not feel always there in the narrative.
Yeah.
It just feels like a mechanical hurdle that I have to get over.
Because let me tell you, if superpowers were real, I would choose to be a healer every day of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, I think in real life would be a lot better power to have than, you can cast Fireball? Great. When is that going to come in handy? You douche. It's causing property damage. I can heal.
Yeah, screw you, Johnny Storm.
Well, but the thing here...
Fun fact, I learned Johnny Storm doesn't have to shower because his fire just burns all of it.
Yeah, like how Superman flies through the sun to clean off.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't think he does. Does he do that?
Canonically, yeah. That's how he
into the sun?
He flies through the sun.
Going into the sun is great for Superman, although it can... It can overcharge him. That's kind of the story.
Too much power.
Well, it is. I mean, it's the kind of story of All-Star Superman, which is a really good graphic novel.
Then he has to sit and like throw his laser beams into space for 5 minutes to wean off the extra energy.
But I was going to say about the narrative stuff too is that what healing always feels like in games narratively is an undo of something that's already happened. Like, which storytelling wise isn't that interesting because you want people to always be moving forward, and healing does feel like in most cases kind of a step backward to be like, oh, I got damaged. No, I'm going to heal myself, which is actually not progressing anything. So I think that even narratively, it's a little bit of a sticky wicket when it comes to this stuff, because whereas the potion as a bonus action feels kind of like my character is prepped, like rips the cork out of one, throws it down, and then like readies their crossbow and takes a fire.
But see, you're just doing what needs to happen when we discuss healing, and you're describing it.
Sure, right.
Like, does anyone say, yes, I rush over and I weave magic and pull from my goddess and da-da-da-da-da. No, they don't. They go, okay, cure wounds, it's 2d8, you know?
Yeah, right. So you're saying that it's more about the presentation of how these mechanics interact with the game that you think is the biggest?
Yes, I think that is something that is lacking, but I also think that this is a problem with most mechanics. Like, you know, at a certain point, people run out of ways to explain how they're swinging a sword. And they're going to run out of ways to explain how they're healing. But it should be more of an impactful thing. So, you know, it kind of at some point is going to boil back down to those mechanics, and those mechanics, the problems are there. I've just undone. I've done an Uno Reverso. Yeah, that's it.
One thing that is really interesting is, so I'm playing
the fact that he said Uno Reverso.
Yeah,
and no one's going to call him out on it.
I played Uno for the first time 2 weeks ago.
Whoa,
what'd you think?
It was fun.
How long was the game?
I don't remember, like
5 hours.
No, no.
Yeah. What weird house rules did they have?
So there wasn't. So we actually got through 2 games. I don't. They wanted to do the first time we played.
Twice your first time?
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. Jesus. So they wanted to do something where I don't remember how this goes, so I don't know. This is really bad audio
or whatever. Because people say
it was
that
something
you
like
can't
draw force.
Yeah, draw force.
Yeah, it may have been. It may have been something like that.
Well, they got Uno over there on the table if you want to play.
Well, I'm always happy to. I mean,
I'm always happy to Uno.
It's
I've only
fine.
played twice, but I'm always happy to.
Yeah,
Are you trying to work out a rule? Because I know in some houses you're like, oh, I play a draw 4. Well, I have a draw 4, and the next person tries to draw 8.
Yeah.
I think it was something like that. They couldn't do that.
That's real rules then.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
but can you stack the draw 2s?
we could stack draw 2s.
Okay.
I think you're not allowed
Oh,
to...
no, it wasn't stacking. It's just I play a draw 2. Okay, I draw 2. And then the next person could play a draw 2.
Ooh, did you play where you have to keep drawing until you could play a card? Or you just draw one card and then either play
I think
or
it
don't
may
play?
have that may have also been a thing where it was draw until you it was just it was draw until you play a card.
Draw until you can play is a lot more fun.
Yeah.
You're not the one having to draw 18 cards.
I've had to do that, yeah.
Yeah, I've done that too. Yeah. I wonder if there's there's got to be some article out there that is this is the most fun, the most optimal fun way to play Uno with all of the house rules incorporated.
Yeah.
So there was one thing they were all surprised because we were at a game place and there was a card in there and none of them had encountered before, but it was essentially like a switch hands card.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cool.
And
the
rotating
new
hands,
edition.
yeah, well, it was just between you and one other person. And
Dungeon Mayhem.
I was and I was down to my last 2 and I was able and so this is I said, well, do I have to? I had the switch one and I had a wild card, and so the wild card could be played. I was like, do I have to play the wild card if I can? And then they said, yes, you do. And I said, okay. And then I was gonna switch. I was gonna have to switch hands or something with this guy. And Whitney and Sean immediately jumped on the Uno thing while I'm still trying to clarify the rules. And so I just sabotaged the game for all of them, let my guy who took my hand win. I made sure I was like, all right, guys. I was trying to clarify an unpleasant rule that none of us were, but let's just go ahead and make sure neither of you.
So you had the classic Uno experience,
Yeah, I had a classic
which is
Uno
great.
experience. Anyway, but the thing about Uno is that it's it's a little more exciting than healing in most TTRPG systems, which is why we've spent the last 10 minutes talking about Uno instead.
Well, this is the thing I was going to say about TTRPG systems is that I've been playtesting Mnemosiny, which is card-based, and the healing system there is a short storage, which is where you essentially can get cards back, which is somewhat of a resource regain, but you can also spend experience to heal yourself. And there is also a long rest mechanic called consolidation, but that takes in-game like 7 days. So your long rest is something that you can't just pull out and be like 4 hours.
I've always wanted to play with the house rules in a D&D game of like a short rest is a day and a long rest is a week.
Yeah.
Where you actually have to heal and you can't just like, 15 minutes? Yeah, I got my hit points back. Let's go.
Well, it makes sense too because like if you are a normal person and you get like a bad cut or something, it's going to take like a week before it's like good, like good enough to start using again.
But what is HP? No.
See episode 81 of Tabletop.
Hey,
Did you
look
look
at
into
big
this
brain
already?
on Shade.
Wow.
Nice.
And I actually am going to double check because I may have gotten the... Nope, episode 81, August 7th, 2023.
Nice. 2 years
Real
ago.
long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't know what HP was.
Yeah. Now we know what healing is because we knew what HP was. We already did the HP homework. Yeah, I like games where things are kind of more defined as far as like HP goes, and I think that really helps with healing and like making healing feel okay. Like in Cairn, there's like the mechanic of, and I guess like Into the Odd and Mythic Bastionland and the the games that kind of started it. But like you have sort of HP is hit protection, and it kind of represents like, and in Mythic Bastionland they call it guard, which I think is like the perfect name for it. And it's basically the pool of points that you have while you're on guard in combat. And so that restores after a fight, and you can find time to like take a breath. Like rest for like 10 minutes or something like that, which usually is represented by like a dungeon turn. Like if you're in a dungeon, like you spend 10 minutes, like, okay, great. We're going to roll and see if there's a random encounter while you do that. But, if you successfully rest, then you get all of your HP back. And the HP pool is very small. But then when you take real damage, like damage to your stats, that is sort of like, it's like basically ability score damage. And then once you reach 0 in any of your ability scores, you're like completely fucked. Like if you lose all your strength, you're dead. And yeah, it's I think like and then healing that takes like a day. Like Rio was saying, like it's like yeah, like a point is a day. Like healing a point of strength takes a day.
Yeah, because I was going to say that because I've played in your games, but also I've played other systems that have a similar thing where you're like basically hurting your attributes and your ability to function.
Yeah.
And that's what the harm is. The only problem for me is that when I've kind of witnessed people, and this is like with exhaustion rules too, that like people don't like not being able to be at like their ability to do stuff being hampered. And so then that always also makes me be like,
I think it's, but I think in games like this though, that doesn't affect you as much as being prepared does, because it's very like fiction forward.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, I can't do an athletics check now because of whatever. It's like, well, if you have enough crowbars and enough manpower, you don't need to roll anything.
Yeah,
like
you
want to avoid rolling.
yeah.
And so I think it's like the whole system has to kind of work together to make that work. Because if you think about like taking ability score damage, like in 5e, for example, or, anything really from all of Dungeons and Dragons, you like imagine like every time that happens, like, okay, creatures have these abilities, right? Some of them, very few of them, be like, okay, your strength score is sapped. It's like, okay, now I have to calculate like 10 different things. I have to recalculate 10 different things until I restore that bonus. It's like, okay, now... All right, so now that means like if I lost 3 strength points, that means like I get a -1 or -2 to everything that is related to strength. And so like it's like a cascading effect and stuff like that. But you kind of need all of those things to do things because you need to do ability checks.
I mean, and I agree with you. And so my perfect, and I don't really incorporate it this way, but my perfect version of modern D&D would literally just be the 6 stats.
Yeah.
And we have a conversation about whether or not you would have proficiency in what you're about to do based on the stat that makes sense for this thing and what it is you're doing. So you want to intimidate someone and you're a big barbarian, great. You want to smash things. You're going to use strength for that intimidation. And you've done this plenty of times and you're big and scary. You get proficiency. I like skills in general, but I really prefer more just the stats and proficiency. And that's
I
like that.
I will also say that solves one of my biggest issues with the current D&D system, which is that if you don't have like D&D Beyond, that figuring out proficiency and expertise and everything is just like a math hurdle that I don't like.
Yeah. And I think people bounce off of that.
Yep, they do. But I do think that if we were to go to such a system, just focusing your damage on those specific stats, like the monster bites you in the leg, you lose 1 point of dexterity. Like that would, I think, be an interesting, and then add some mechanical weight to the healing aspects too.
Yeah.
This is just a hot take.
Sorry for this.
I think that usually when you like drink in a TTRPG or whatever, have some sort of, crazy thing happen where you're, going to a tavern and having a boatload of ale because of some situation, that you always make a con check. I think it should affect your wisdom score. Because your constitution doesn't actually get immediately affected other than like your sort of like perception of the world.
Right.
And you might make worse decisions but people fall down the stairs when they're drunk and they're fine because they're loose and they're good.
Well, do you know why it's affecting? So it's not negatively impacting your con. It's your con is the save check.
Typically for the like liver,
Correct. Yeah. Well, also because con is what checks against poison, and alcohol is poison.
Gotcha.
I like alcohol, but it is fucking poison. Like by definition, it is poisoning you.
Yeah.
Some of the best drugs are poison.
I think all drugs are poison.
Yeah, basically.
Shade, I would love to play your D&D hack.
I will. Let's
make it. Let's make it.
Here's my big pitch. I want to move us fully into the 2024 stuff. And just say, okay, and instead of I don't care if you want to like have like a guiding light of what you are generally good at for history checks and whatnot, cool. But I'm going to make determinations in that moment. That is I would like to just move to that.
Yeah.
In general. But I want also to move the health to that based on this conversation we're having, so that your health is generally speaking your con stat. Ooh. But then this maybe I wasn't clarifying.
I actually
this.
love that already.
So your health is instead of having HP, I want it to be your con stat, and that's what's generally impacted.
Yeah.
But certain things may also impact other stats, or in place of fully impact those stats.
It's like magic might affect you in a different way.
Correct.
Ooh, or if you're like getting shot at by arrows or something like that, and it's like, okay, you take, dexterity damage now.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
It wings you. Yeah.
Something like that.
But I also really love that because in this case, it makes me really like the reduction of stats because in your case, it's usually like in the OSR games that we playing, it's usually strength, right? That gets affected when you get attacked.
Well, it just depends, depends on what the thing is. And, sort of strictly speaking about like Into the Odd type systems. Because, the other games that are in the OSR are just D&D. They do exactly this.
Yeah. Well, because I like Constitution being the target because then, like you said, it's sort of like your body is just more frail because it's been through more stuff. Yeah. So it's like, maybe you're not able to digest poisons as well as you used to be or whatever.
I think, too, there is like this sort of thing where it's like, what are stats? And like the 6 original stats are very like, it's like kind of like, okay, like what do they kind of represent? And there's this great blog post that I think I've sent to all of you guys before. And I think I talked to Rio about it because he was trying to, look at stats or whatever. It's a DIY and Dragons post about stats. And it's basically like, okay, what are all these doing? And so it's like kind of breaking them down into different like axes. And so there's like defensive and offensive, and then like graceful or forceful, and then think the last one was like mental or physical. And so like something like strength could be like forceful, physical and offensive, or like an offensive thing.
Yeah.
And then constitution would be that, but the defensive aspect of it.
I really like that too, because it's like I kind of like having the stats on a gradient when you were building a character to like push them towards one or another, because then you could have a build that's like really hardy and offensive, or you could be like really hardy and defensive, and that's like a tank versus a damage dealer build kind of thing, which just
or even like
tickles my
defensive
brain.
and graceful, and you're just like really good at dodging shit.
Yeah, right. I think that for me too, let's kind of shift a little bit into like narrative stuff specifically rather than the mechanical stuff. Healing in general, like I said earlier, is just sort of like a slowdown mechanism in almost all cases. I think that there are definitely scenes where it's like you run over and you're like pumping holy magic into this person's like barely breathing corpse, and like that feels like, you know, what a adventurer would do, and is like going and feels like it's additive to the story. But I also feel like, you know, having a person, it's not just healing, it's also skill folks, especially in combat, where it feels like all they're doing is trying to kind of use what abilities they have, but they're not able to directly affect the situation in the way that they would like, or the way that they feel is most useful.
Well, this might be literary bias also, because if you look at different animes and shows,
Everything is anime.
The healer is usually the person who needs protecting.
Yeah.
Is the sort of weaker coded. I think the last thing I watched was Goblin Slayer. You have the healer, and who is the healer? New person, doesn't really know how to fight, is usually the first to like be too scared to act.
Yeah.
And then the warrior types are the ones who are like leading the charge and doing all like the big cinematic cuts. And I think for a lot of people, what they bring to the table is what they're pulling in from what they're watching. Yeah. And who wants to be the healer? The background character who needs rescuing.
The one who can't handle the situation.
Yeah.
I think that's because like, I think that's so true. And also it is interesting to look at how the class descriptions are for things like a cleric, because most of the time the clerics is like, oh, you're like a holy person, you're in love with life and you're spreading that life around. But then you see the artwork and it's a guy in full plate with a huge mace that is like smashing something's head while like sending, you know, healing energy to someone else, which makes me be like, okay, then we should like your design should be like that. Like all of a cleric's healing spell should be a minor action, and they have your like some martial proficiency so that they can do all of these things. Maybe not as well as something else.
I would love if you were playing a healing class with a mace and you got 1 point of healing into a pool for every 1 point of damage that you dealt.
Oh, that'd be crazy.
And that way you could like stock it up for a big heal, or every turn be like, oh, I did 16 damage to the bad guy. I've got 16 points of healing I can now use as my healing turn to send to someone.
And you could put it in like rage, where it's like if you don't use the healing or add to the pool in one full turn, it like disappears. You know what I mean?
Why are you taking away? We want to bring healing to the forefront.
No. What I'm saying,
you're trying to hobble my new healing mechanic.
But what I'm saying is that you couldn't like, you know, cash 100 points of healing over a long rest. It would be like rage in that it would disappear if you don't use it in some way or add to it by
I'll give you
attack.
you add a long rest, it reverts back to 0.
Yeah, or something like that. But
Too complicated.
you're like, too complicated.
I think if you want to make like a healer class more fun, you should give them ways to like prevent damage. Like that is also, you know, the cleric has that.
Abjuration.
Yeah. I think that can be like something that is more additive and feels more active if you're like,
I really feel like you should break the wizard class and just give all the different classes the schools of magic, because like the healer would be great to be the abjurationist.
Yeah.
And just take all of the spells away from the wizard and like, oh, you want to cast shield and parry?
I think because like shield to me feels like one of the best spells that is in this kind of class of thing, of like a protection spell.
Yeah, it's a
because it's reaction. Yeah, like I feel like most
does cleric
healing
have shield?
I don't know. I think it is definitely a mage, but I don't think it's divine.
The Arcana cleric might.
Yeah.
Because they made it a spell for wizards to protect themselves.
Exactly.
Because they can't wear armor.
Yeah,
But, like,
I mean,
what
it makes sense for wizards to have it.
It would just be so cool though to be like boom, like across the map or
But
whatever.
yeah, the healer should all be reactions and minor actions so that they can keep moving and doing a bunch of different things.
I mean, I think also the fact that clerics can wear armor was like kind of part of the original design, right? Where it's like, oh, it's like you can be a mage or you can be a you can be a wizard or you can be a fighting man, and then
fighting man.
and then the thing that's in between is the cleric, and you can be fighting man and wizard,
man.
but you have a different list of spells.
Yeah.
And thank
think
God
the
in the
different
next
spell
edition
lists-
they introduced female as a class.
You can slay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, I just feel like there's not a really good way to do it unless you find a system that you like and that your players know
way
how
to do what?
use, like for healing, because like
I think the thing about healing is that it's really I think I agree that it is boring.
Yeah.
Because when people are thinking about it, they're thinking about it happening in combat.
Yeah.
And I think if it's happening in combat, it's quite boring. But if it happens between combats, between fights, you're kind of like, okay, now I can have a character moment because now we're here and we're like, I'm gonna heal you, and like we're gonna like talk about our feelings or whatever. I don't know.
Actually, the best combat healing is Donald Duck with the cure spell. Thank you.
Kiraga?
Let's think about it.
He's talking about
Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, never mind.
Where you give all your spells to Donald Duck, who's the strongest spellcaster of all time in any Final Fantasy game.
Yeah.
Nice.
He's a good player.
That was just gonna be a Karl Marx reference.
Karl Marx, Donald
Karl Barks.
Oh, I thought you said a Karl Marx reference. I was like, he talked about Donald Duck.
Wait, is that what his name was?
Karl Marx loved Donald Duck.
Yeah,
That's
canonically. Yeah, I do like the idea
Hated
of
Scrooge, though.
I do
Yeah,
like
Karl
that.
Barks, the
Okay.
creator of Donald Duck. Very innovative comic artist. Check him
Anyway.
out. You guys are all comic nerds.
I would love to, but
You know,
when it-
Donald Duck's anger problems are PTSD based because he's served in the war. He's a
served in
World
the
War II
war?
veteran.
Yeah, he's a World War
It's a
II
fucking
veteran.
sailor.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't- oh, is that why he has a sailor
It's
hat?
the Navy guy,
Wow.
Yeah.
Fought Hitler.
Wow.
That's
We were
crazy.
teaching
Beat his
all
ass up.
kinds of things about Donald Duck.
I know.
I mean, to Franco's point here, there is an actually like extensive amount of comics for Donald Duck that are
All of the
super in-depth.
Duckverse
Yeah.
Disney characters.
It's like Sonic the Hedgehog and Ninja Turtles. It's like on that par of like
Prolific.
yes.
But yeah, I think
Yeah, I
that,
remember when Sonic finally got Bin Laden. Is that
the Delta team or whatever.
Yeah, what are all the like different? It's like when Mickey Mouse assassinated the Archduke Ferdinand.
The black mouse, like the black hand.
Yeah, that's pretty good. No, like 5 more. Okay, hold on.
Comedy comes in fives, guys.
Everyone knows this.
Everybody knows the Bay of Pigs and Porky Pig,
Yeah.
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
The Bay of Porkies.
The Bay of Pigs.
That's also trauma. The stutter.
Oh no!
Every time the stutter happens, it's like a soft focus, and you just see planes like flying.
Yeah, like Porky. Yeah, oh my god, that's so funny. Actually, if Porky Pig is like a Cuban, like expat, like
And then Daffy Duck is the way he is because he's using drugs to dull all of his senses.
Yeah.
So
And
healing.
we'll now talk about healing. Yeah.
So what's great for
What's a
healing
delicious?
is...
Well, I was trying to think of like pork dishes from Cuba, and I can't think. I'm
what
from
about
Florida, so I know a lot
Cuban
of
sandwich?
Yeah, a Cuban sandwich. Yeah. So he's like a Cuban sandwich, Porky Pig, Cuban sandwich. Yeah, the Porky Pig.
But I really like this idea of healing actually happening out of combat, and like even as a home rule, because it would do 2 things, I think, which is one,
Healing potions are stupid.
healing potions are stupid, but also it would make any sort of healing characters try to diversify their spell set or whatever they're doing so that they can be more active during combat and then afterwards use their healing to like recover people. I think that makes more sense and also might be more fun for them to dip into like more active roles in combat. It also makes combat much more like stakes are higher because, you know, when someone goes down, like that's sort of something you can deal with outside of combat, but not really while you're in combat.
Right. But
which
then that
feels
poor
good.
person who is down for the next 3 hours while combat resolves.
That's why you need to speed up your combat.
We get to the real heart of what Franco wants to talk about with healing.
Let's-
Make combat faster.
Make combat faster. One easy trick: double the HP, half the damage. Other way around. Other way around.
One thing I love about Franco when we talk about D&D specifically is how much he hates combat and he hates skill checks.
Which are the two main core pillars.
Main things.
They're not pillars.
Oh, sorry.
Well,
We call it
combat's
a pillar. Yeah, combat's a pillar. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like that even if someone goes down, I kind of like it because I don't run super long.
Stop it.
It will speed up combat.
I hate when Bigby goes down.
Oh, I got it. Oh, shut up, Shane. Damn it.
I didn't say anything.
This end of the table.
I didn't say
We can't go one episode.
damn thing. I didn't say a damn thing. I was
proud
talking
of you.
about something else, guys.
But like it will speed up combat because there's less people taking turns.
Yeah.
It
Right,
will.
because you got one guy going down on everybody.
God damn it. Going down on the team. But then
my
you also
God.
have like the stakes go up as everyone's like, we need to finish this before this person rolls enough to go down forever. And so it becomes, and then it could go to the thing of like, oh, we have to run away.
No, nothing gets sped up because it's not like everybody just gets stuck with like analysis paralysis because they have like a million things that they could do.
But healing
And it's-
isn't one of them.
Healing isn't one of them because you can't heal.
Yeah.
And no, they just want to fight. They just want to kill shit. That's all they want to do. So that's all the nasty 5e perverts want to do. They just want to fight. They'll never run
No
away.
one actually likes combat.
No, everybody wants to be there. Everybody wants to be like, yeah, let me get a hand on the ball. And I think to everybody else, it feels like it takes like a couple minutes, and to me, it feels like it's taken hours.
This is
because I'm watching them all take their turns because I'm the DM.
this is also just something that everyone does feel about. Like I love D&D, but combat takes for fucking ever.
Yeah.
That's like there are only if the combat is very engaging is it like there are specific clear goals. And
Because I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I've challenged myself that whenever I design a combat encounter that I'm also designing some sort of other thing that's going on that they can interact in a non-combat way, just as a challenge to myself. It's pretty hard to do that and make every combat super engaging. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like too, if you think about the in-lore stuff around combat, that each turn is like 6 seconds or whatever it is.
Well, another way to speed up combat is to make combat end without having to reduce anyone's hit points to 0.
That's true. Like a bandit
make him
or
run
whatever.
away.
Be like, I'm so sorry. Like, you've killed
It'd be like,
all my friends.
there's like a wild boar, and you just have to stop it from rampaging or trampling some stuff. So you just gotta capture it. So it's like, oh, okay.
No, they're not going to want to capture it. They're just going to want to kill it. Try this next time you run a monster. Half their HP, double their damage.
Honestly, I kind of have been just doing that in general because I'm just like, these are huge sacks of hit points.
or if you want to be like a little more behind the scenes and not let the players know that you're doubling their damage, just quarter the HP.
Yeah.
Same effect.
Yeah.
Or just do hit counters. Be like, oh, this has 5 hits,
Correct.
Yeah.
and that's the same average.
Yeah, that's true. But I think that the only thing that I do around that is because crits are a thing, you can't do that as much because
Well, then a crit is
that
just 2
makes
hits.
yeah.
2 counters.
I already solved your problem.
Right, but if you crit with a fireball, that's a lot different than critting
But
with a
you
sword.
can't crit with a fireball.
sorry, yeah, you're right. But
You can't crit with spells.
Crit with a guiding light.
Yeah.
But I mean, it still kind of gets into that idea of something like it makes crits feel a lot better because it's probably going to be the killing thing.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, I think that you guys are all right around healing stuff. I honestly think that, Franco, you're just sort of right where it's like a player culture thing, and it's also just like in a lot of these systems that it's built a certain way for it to be used, and so you just have to find the right system or set expectations at the table.
And a lot of it is just MMO, I think.
Yeah, for real.
Hereditary,
Yeah,
where it's like, oh, the healer class.
People talk like that too. They'd be like, "Oh, I'm tanking. I'm
Yeah.
DPS right now. Whatever." Yeah.
Yeah, it does feel a lot to
fine.
your point, Rio, that they've taken some of the like the raiding mentality and roles and all that kind of stuff. And the thing is that I think a lot of people kind of take up that terminology, but raids are actually incredibly authoritarian and they're very specific that everyone does a specific thing and you're just doing your specific thing. It's very compartmentalizing. I don't know. I don't think that actually people would want to play like that in a TTRPG.
No.
You know?
Well,
so like,
they might
why?
not want to, but that's kind of where we get our healer
totally,
does
yeah.
the healer heals and stays in the back and doesn't do anything with the combat.
Yeah.
And in an MMO, it's still more engaging because you're still seeing all of the stuff happening.
All the pretty
part
lights
of
are
it.
happening in front of it.
Yeah.
In a tabletop, you're like, oh, this is my one turn in half an hour to do something, and what I'm doing is tapping A to heal.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that in that way too, it's more active in a video game situation because you're constantly doing some sort of physical input with like clicking your keys or whatever.
I mean, that's really the
That's the big difference. So it's like if
Just have your healer have a fidget spinner, and every time they do so many fidgets, they get to heal someone.
That's sick, actually.
I mean,
I kind of do like giving them like a separate
separate
little
game. Like everybody has their own game.
and you're like, people are getting really hurt. And you're like, okay.
This is the second time. This is the second time we've talked about each player getting their own game to play.
which is why I brought die for you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then you like one character's like playing solitaire, and like once they hit once they get a certain amount of like whatever, they can cast like the big spell or something like that.
Or like casting a spell is like playing Minesweeper, and if you hit the mine, then it's like the spell goes off in your hand before you're ready or whatever. Like,
it could be like different card games. Like it could be like like fighters are playing war against the DM.
I like that wizards have solitaire because every time you clear a column, you get to cast a spell.
And also it's different levels of spells because there's so many things that are.
You know what you could do where I only have
Franco's like, I got it.
I only have like 5 through 10 right now. That means I can cast this type of spell. But if I have like the full thing, like if I have K through A, then I can cast like whatever.
Oh yeah, the more numbers in the row, the higher the spell level.
And that way you can. That way, even if you have an unsolvable solitaire game, which happens all the time, then you can still use it.
Because you're also always sort of deciding whether or not you want to keep full columns or if you're just trying to go for like the size of the column for a bigger spell.
This is sick.
Kind of cool.
And then thieves are playing Texas Hold'em. Thieves are playing like poker or something like that. What's a cleric playing? I'm just thinking of card games.
I feel like
Rummy or something.
Cleric, maybe a trick-taking game because you're trying to like, create a hand or something.
This is insane.
This is interesting because the way it works in Mnemosyne is that it's like blackjack but the difficulty ratings are 10 plus how many cards of difficulty there is, and all of the cards have a number between 1 and 4. And so you are creating the CR by saying 10 plus, I have a 1, I have a 2, I have a 4. So that is 7. So it's a 17 that they have to either hit or go over to do it. But the range is 11 to 21.
Right.
And so they have to make a bet of like, okay, this could be 17 or it could be 14. And I have 14 on the board right now, so I could just call it. Yeah. And then the way that he kind of adjudicates the range is that however far away is how many consequences you take. So if it's 17 and you flip over a 14 and you stop to save your cards, then you have 3 consequences because you're that far away from the target number. So it's pretty elegant. I like it a lot. But like nice. That's the thing that you're kind of talking about bringing in other games into your. I like that a lot.
I just really want to try His Majesty the Worm, but I don't want to learn it to. Like I want to play in somebody else's His Majesty the Worm game. Like I don't really want to try to learn it. It's like a tarot driven card like TTRPG.
Jackie
it's really
would
cool.
Be into it. She's really into tarot right now, right?
Yep, she's into it.
Well, she can learn it and run it for me.
I'll learn it and I'll do it as an night.
Anyway, any final thoughts on healing?
Well, I was going to say, as far as like, if you want something really like, because we were talking about those flashy, pretty lights, there is something, and I think you guys might be really excited about this. It's called Project Sigil. It's coming out soon.
Is that the virtual tabletop?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's really good. We're gonna do an episode about it next time.
Okay.
So we'll bring it up next time.
Okay, cool.
We'll talk to you guys then.
Sounds great. Both of you are looking at me in such a way that I think
just do the outro and we'll
okay.
Final thoughts. Outro. Go.
Outro.
Thanks everyone for listening to Tabletop. I hope this healed you in some way.
Nice.
Go to our website at tabletoppod.com and tell us how by using that contact form. You can also go to patreon.com/tabletopped, and that is where you can join the crew there, I guess, that you can get our Wild Magic episodes. Those are free bonus content, and then we also have modules and other things that we drop in there from time to time. All right, everyone. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Bye.